I have no clue what you're talking about.
You had an excellent belch right before we started recording.
Oh,
It
okay.
was perfect timing, just like bam. It was like I hit the stream button, you went then I hit the start recording button. I felt like I should congratulate you on your mighty victory. Look at that yawn now even. Whoa.
Just think of how much louder it would have been if I would have burped with my mouth open.
Oh my, I can only imagine the terrible tragedies that could have fallen upon us. Hello and welcome to this week's Two Trolls in a Brew, everybody. I'm Samus, he's Travis, and we're talking about our favorite card game, Magical Gatherings. Can we say that? Is that safe to say?
That it's our favorite card
Yeah,
game,
it's our favorite.
or that we're talking about it.
A little both.
Um,
Like, can you consider strip poker a card game? Or is that more of like a
was
group
more,
activity?
I was more thinking blackjack.
Hey, I don't like blackjack. There's nothing exciting to
Sorry, I
blackjack.
won.
There's nothing like, oh what, you counting out cards, you're figuring odds. Like there's no reading of opponents. Like it's just straight up, I don't know. Something cold and uncalculating. You know what? The more you talk about it, the more I like blackjack.
You mean the
Cold.
more you talk about it?
Let's not get factual with your explanations today.
Yeah, because I didn't say anything.
This week's episode of Two Trolls in a Brew, episode 127, is tentatively called Uma Thurman, which will hopefully be explained later. And Travis picked the subtitle of IDFK. Did I get it right?
Yeah,
Yes. Victory is mine this day. So, Travis, how's your week? What's going on?
like in general,
Sure, why not? We ain't got a lot of
it's been
magic to talk about.
it's been slow.
Yeah?
Yeah, work is boring.
That
That,
sounds
that's all.
that sounds about right. Well, my week has been okay. Remington graduated from college or high school, not college. That's been real
Oh, I
quick.
said,
That's a
wow.
real fast. That was kind of exciting. I've told this joke a couple of times now, and hopefully it's still funny to people. But my mother and my father both came to Remington's graduation party, and I walked in with my father, and my mother was already there, and my mother looks over at my wife and goes, "Who is that really old man with Ryan?" Sorry, spoiler alert, my name is Ryan. And of course my wife goes, "That's Mark," which is my dad's. And she goes, "Wow, he really let himself go." He's like he's an old man now. He's like completely gray. He has a huge gray beard. He walking in with his I don't know. I think he's hooking up with some Irish Mexican chick. He's got like this Mexican skull, but it's like all green with like four-leaf clovers all over it.
Okay.
He's woo. And with his shirt, he's got his couple of different knives like stuck on his suspenders. So to say my father's a little bit extravagant is to say the least. So we have a nice meal, and I leave with my mother because we have to go back to my house and load up a mower into the back of their truck for my brother. And when we leave, my dad goes over to my wife and goes, "Wow, Ryan's mother really let herself go."
Oh,
I don't know. There's just something about that story that just puts a big grin on my face. You know what I mean? Man, separate parents suck. But this is a Magic the Gathering podcast. So we're going to talk about Magic the Gathering. Hopefully everyone's having a great week. Sorry about the lateness of last week's show. Again, graduation, stuff like that kept me pretty swamped. And I have no promises that this week will be any better. But I will try. Basically what I'm doing, if you'd like to catch the show as new as possible, the best thing to do is to jump over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/SamusGarobo, all one word. And I'll put the new episode in pretty much right away tonight when we're done recording it. So, knock on wood, everything will sound good. Bilal tells us that everything sounds really good on his end. So, and considering he's like, I don't know, 20%.
He's number one.
Well, he's number one, but I'm gonna say like 20 to 40% of our YouTube audience at any given minute want to make sure that he's happy.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week's troll card from yours truly is going to be, I'm going to butcher this name so bad, Tesku Uzawaza. No, Umawaza. Umawaza's Jite. No, that's not. That's what, her new nickname is Uma Thurman, everybody. It's kind of close, right?
Now say it with me.
Okay.
And I'm basing this off of like traditional SUs in the middle of Japanese names. So it'll be Tetsuku.
Tetsuku?
Yeah, like T-E-T.
I can literally see the word. You respelling it's not going to help my brain sound it out.
All right. Umazawa.
Umazawa.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Close enough. I was not a fan of this little blue chick until this week's draft, where I decided I was going to draft like a weenie deck. Like, I'm trying to remember what my first pick was. I think it's that 3/3 that whenever you play a historic spell, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn.
Okay.
So I was like, all right, well, I'll just go deep in white and historic stuff and see what happens. And they just kept passing me like white creatures, just like I couldn't even tell you right now off the top of my head, but just like generic good white stuff. And I passed by all the black spells that I normally would take. Like I let 2 or 3 eviscerates go by. I let just like tons of really powerful cards go by, and I was just like, no, I'm gonna stay on this strategy of this white deck. And I don't know what I'm gonna pair it with yet, but if there's a good white card, I'm gonna take it. And then if there's a card that's not a good white card, I will consider moving into another color, right? So I'm just like going through the cards, and then I get Flight. That blue single blue for +1/+1 of flying enchantment. I'm like, okay. Deal. So I ended up taking like 4 flights, I think, throughout the course of the draft. What Tesco? Sexy Uma over here. And I ended up picking up what I'd consider the second MVP, this Sparring Construct. Do you know what this thing does?
Yes.
It's like reminiscent of the old I want to say modular counters. Like when it dies, you get to move the 1/1 counter onto another creature.
Yeah.
But this thing just destroyed people for me. I cannot tell you how good this card was. Like I just played it for 1, and then I'd play Uma on 2 and just beat face. And those 2 cards by themselves would generate 12 points of damage, like very quickly. Of course, usually involves one of them getting a flight or there's an artifact that gives +2/+0 and first strike if it's your turn. An equipment, I can't think of the name of it right now. A lance, maybe.
There's the jousting lance that gives it first strike.
Yeah. Does it also give like +2/+0?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a couple of those, and it was insane. It was insanely good. I had the new Savannah Lion that you can like name a creature when it comes into play, and then you can sacrifice it to give that creature indestructible. I had a couple of those. I had a couple of those 3/1s. I think they're just generic 3/1s for 2. And I'm trying to think what else I had. Mostly just flights and like really efficient creatures. I had a handful of removal spells, like Seal Away, I think. Is yeah, you're shaking your head, so it must be right.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It was pretty fun. There's pretty much nothing better than dropping one of those 2 1s on 1, or the artifact on 1, and then dropping this person. I think it's a lady.
It's a lady.
Tusco. Whatever. And just starting getting in.
Uma Thurman.
And Uma Thurman. And at least one time I had like 12 power on the board, and then I top decked and played her and attacked for lethal. It was very awesome. I'm very impressed with her in Limited. Is she any good in Constructed? I don't know. But a friend of ours, I think we may have mentioned this in the past, friend Jackie, friend of the show, wants to build that deck built around her, the colony rats, and then just like enough control magic to keep a reasonable number of your rats alive. I don't know how viable it is, but after actually playing the card, I think it's a very powerful effect. I don't know. What do you think? You've actually played this card more than I have.
Well, I built around it. I haven't actually done anything with it. But no, because we haven't had any brawl players show up, so I'm like, well, whatever. So I'm just building a mono black rat deck.
That's sad.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it because
oh, go ahead.
I'm gonna be putting the Forebear's Blade on it, so that way the creature gets... Yeah, so it's a 3-mana equipment that equips for 3, and it gives equip creature +3 vigilance and trample, and when it dies, attach it to another creature you control.
Okay. So you can just like throw a rat at it, and if it dies, just move it.
Yeah, so it's like, oh no, you killed one of my rats with your Settle the Wreckage. That was going to be lethal. All right. Next.
So here's I want to say, speaking of Brawl changed like right after we recorded the show, right?
Thankfully.
Okay. Thankfully, I don't know. The thing that I really liked about it the most was that it used the standard ban list. So you didn't have to have all these different rules for it. On the flip side, it's nice to be able to play with some of the other cards that were banned for a while in standard because they're too good as a 4-ofs. So we'll see. But oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say when they make a format and immediately, like with 2 tournaments going on, out of the top 32, 17 and then 16 were the same card, they had to ban it.
Like, I don't necessarily disagree with you at all, but I feel like there was 2 folds. One, weren't all of those tournaments heads up Commander or heads up Brawl?
Yeah, but you could still see how it's toxic in other group games too.
Sure, but in group games it's way less so. And that was the other thing that I dislike about the change, is they've changed it now where it is more of a heads up tournament style, which I don't care for. To me, I think the thing that was best about it was like, hey guys, let's just screw around and like essentially get in 10-minute games of Commander.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing about that. The people who already play just 10-minute games of Commander are competitive Commander players.
Yes, I understand. Again, I don't know. I just felt like it was the competitive Commander players didn't want to do it.
What you want to do is you want to play Commander the way it was intended, except in half the time and with only cards in Standard.
Yes.
Yeah, or you could just, grow a pair and go play Commander.
Which is why I don't play Commander, because every time I've tried to play Commander since then, it just turns into not fun. it just turns into people getting pissy and upset.
Get better.
Yeah, well, even if I win, that's just how it is. Especially when I win, that's how it is. Like, oh, you shouldn't win with your piece of shit deck. Well, beat me.
Well, that's why I win with yours. Yeah. Like, I told that to someone who got mad at me when I beat him with cards that he owned. And my commander deck was basically, I just made it to take control of other people's things.
Right.
So it's like, oh, you shouldn't win with that. I was like, I didn't. I won with your card. And then they got more mad about it.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. The fun part of it, I'm afraid, is going to go. Like, I realize that when people have the opportunity to get competitive, that that's just a thing that's going to happen. Especially when you talk about Magic in particular, people are going to get competitive about it. I was just really hoping that if they continue to say, no, this is going to be ideally a 3 to 4 person pod kind of situation, and that's how we're going to support it, and we're going to keep it very simple on the rules, because one of the problems is with like heads up commander versus not heads up commander, there's different ban lists, and I just got my I just have my group game guy, and we're just going to call this card something else or that card this, and I don't know. That stuff just adds unnecessary complexity to what I wanted from the Brawl format of, hey, let's just all screw around for 10 minutes between rounds. But it's fine. I'm willing to try it. I definitely think my 5-color one is going to be a lot more fun now, being able to add in the I can't even think of the name of the card now. To go find a land and make 2 energy. Obviously, just slam and Saheeli combo in it. Like, if we're going to get competitive, we might as well get all in, right?
Maybe.
So, I don't know. I'm excited to try it in general, but one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, can Uma here just replace Brawl in some of the Brawl-based Brawl decks? If you're just looking for a 2-mana mono blue guy, I realize he doesn't make instants or sorceries 1 mana less. But if you just want to drop your legend early,
I don't see why it wouldn't, but I don't know. I don't really pay much attention to standard anymore. Well, like, if I'm not drafting, then I'm not really playing standard.
Okay. Well, this would be the question in result to the Brawl, I guess, question. I don't know. I watched LSV had a video where he was playing the Lotus God versus the Brawl deck player, and basically the Brawl just essentially did nothing. Once in a while, I think it enabled the possibility of like 3 counter spells in a turn, but it really didn't do anything other than that. I don't know if that's player skill or luck of the draw. But anyway, we talked about Brawl a lot longer than we planned to, because literally the note says Brawl changes, never mind. But I felt like you gave us a good segue.
Well, what did I give you a segue into?
Into Brawl.
Oh, right.
You literally did it. You gave us a segue. So let's get to the meat. I was going to ask you what your troll card was, but you didn't tell me beforehand, so I didn't look it up, so we're not going to talk about it.
Oh, well, now we're going to talk about it since you don't want to.
Okay, well, what is it?
Greater Gargadon.
I like Greater Gargadon.
All right, so I was just making sure you knew what it was before I went on it.
Yeah, one of the things that was so great about it is you, like, suspend it for red.
Right, you suspend it for, like, 10 turns.
Not really.
Yeah, exactly. So I was playing a modern event with it, obviously, and at one point in the night I was 3-0. Like I ended up finishing 4-1 with the deck, but everybody was so afraid of Greater Gargadon that they didn't realize my other win condition up until, like the last 2 rounds. So basically the deck that I played was Mardu Pyromancer, but I swapped out some cards for 4 Greater Gargadons, the Bitter Ordeals, and Psychogenic Probe. And which ones are you looking up right now?
I was trying to look up the Greater Gargadon. Psychogenic Probe does what?
So, Psychogenic Probe is whenever a spell or ability causes a player to shuffle their library, the probe deals 2 damage to them.
So that's the one I was thinking. The artifact from
Mirrodin. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are you doing to make people shuffle their deck?
Bitter Ordeal.
Alright, maybe I'm not remembering what Bitter Ordeal does.
Alright, so for 2 colorless and a black, at sorcery speed, you search target player's library for a card and remove it from the game. That player shuffles their library. And then Gravestorm.
Oh, okay. Alright, so what? You're making a buttload of little 1/1 tokens and then sacrificing the Greater Gargadon so you could Gravestorm out their deck?
Yes. And really, if I have, because basically the whole deck is just an attrition-based game. And so I'm already limiting the resources that they have until I have the ability to go off. So essentially, I just whittle them down with the young Pyromancer and all the little tokens that the Pyromancer makes and the Lingering Souls tokens and all that stuff, And then, when it's time to go off, I sacrifice a majority of the things to the Greater Gargadon. Take them off suspend after my draw step and into my first main phase. So float mana into your mana pool, and then sacrifice everything to bring them out. And then you cast your Bitter Ordeal for let's just say you haven't touched them at all for the game. So you sacrifice 10 permanents, and you go through their library. You get a card, make them shuffle their deck, they take 2. And then you do that for each permanent that went to the graveyard from play that turn.
Yeah, I understand the general idea. I wonder how well that works. Is it like a get you once kind of thing?
No. It's a get you whenever I want to.
You'd feel like
the only deck that I lost.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the only deck that I lost to was Infect, and that's just because it was faster than me. But the rest of the games, it was, like I said, it was an attrition-based game, so it's all right, Thoughtseize that away, Inquisition that, kill that, basically just whittle you down, and then you're looking at a bunch of 1/1s from the Pyromancer or the tokens, and you're just kind of okay, well, now I just can't do anything. And then basically with limited resources, you get Bitter Ordealed out of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It sounds okay. I know. Are those my Bitter Ordeals now that I know what they are? Did I ever actually get you them?
Because I never got them from you.
Excellent. I may have to build this deck now.
It's
somewhere in this vicinity, I have Bitter Ordeals, I guess, for Travis that no longer are required or desired. Ah, man, no, it's been a while, actually. I think I have a Greater Gargadon right over here, though. Maybe not. It's over in this mess somewhere, I'm sure. Alright, so let's talk about Karn.
Okay.
So when Karns were a little bit cheaper, I picked them up at $30. Then I picked them up at $40, and I finished them. I got 3 of them at 30 and 1 of them at 40.
Mm-hmm.
And now they are, I'm gonna say $70. The MTG Stocks is calling them average 68.95, just close enough to 70. I'm gonna call them 70.
No, call it 69. You...
Well, this is a family-oriented show.
You're gonna round up to the nearest number.
I am the real number. Family-friendly show, my friend. Family-friendly.
I don't see anything unfriendly about 69. It's just another number between 68 and 70.
I guess that's fair. So, there's been a huge price spike on it in the last week, roughly, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm like, all right, we'll do it. And I put them in that artifact-based deck, kind of like how some of the other shells I've seen look like. And my friend Dan played the deck at the last Monday Night Magic, and he said the Karns felt bad. They did not feel like what the deck really wanted, where just a straight up draw 2 probably would have been stronger for him most of the time. Although he did block with Karn for quite a while, I felt like, in the matches that we played. But he wants to just go... you remember, maybe I didn't tell you, maybe I did, but I wanted to make the deck basically either Artifacts War or Paradoxal Outcome combo. Where you storm off.
Right.
And he felt like the deck was almost stronger without the Karns in the way. Because I ended up playing 3 Karns and 3 Paradoxical Outcomes. And he wished there was 4 Paradoxical Outcomes, no Karns, and like, I don't even remember what else he said the other 2 Karns would be better off being served as. But I feel like it was basically draw 2s. So I want to pull it out and talk about it in a void, because apparently people think it's good. And the matches I played with it feel okay, but never like win the game, kind of flip over that planeswalker. So is this thing good?
In standard, not really. But the reason people are freaking out over it is because it goes into that mono red prison deck in Modern. It goes into Affinity in Modern. It is part of, I think it's the Painter's Workshop in Vintage. And it's also being played in Legacy. Because in Standard, yeah, having him out on turn 3 is, mediocre sometimes. But in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage, having him out on turn 1 is basically just game over.
How so? How is it game over?
Can you do an extra 6 damage to me on turn 1?
No. How does he do an extra 6 damage on turn 1? I realize he could make a 6/6 with his neg 2 ability, but
so on turn 1, let's just go into into Modern. So turn 1, you play him on turn 1, right? And then in this mono red prison deck, you bump him up so he goes up to 6 loyalty counters, and you draw essentially an extra card, and your opponent forces a card out of the out into the exile.
Right.
Turn 2, you do it again, so it's basically just continuous card advantage in a deck that's meant to lock everybody out.
So how are you playing this guy on turn 1 consistently in Modern?
Well, see, it's not consistent in Modern, but with the mono red prison deck, it obviously has mountains, simian spirit guides, and rituals
Okay.
like desperate and pyretic.
Okay. So I guess the version of the prison deck that I used to play apparently has been outpaced, because it would be hard pressed to make a 4-mana creature or a 4-mana anything on turn 1.
Yeah, because the prison deck now has Blood Moons, Torch of Defiance, um, Ensnaring Bridge, Chalice of the Voids. All of those and all of those you can play on turn 1, and they generally run a like Karn as a 1 or 2 of.
Okay. I don't know. To me, this just feels like the pre-hype before the Pro Tour pros buying their Karns. Like, personally, I feel like what we're probably going to see is this -2 being ridden to victory.
Well, yeah,
hard.
like it just consistently gains value no matter which one you use it off of.
Yeah.
Like you plus it, you get a card draw. You minus the one after the second turn, you get another card, or you can just neg 2, get 2 dudes, and then still have the ability to go up with it and get card advantage.
Right.
Like having that early on in the game is just absurd.
Yeah, I don't know.
Standard on turn 3.
The games that I played it on, it felt really solid every time I played it. Turn 3 was, I think, probably the best I played it on, and that's when I turn 1 some random artifact. Turn 2 I made the 2 artifacts with I can't even think what that thing's called, but it makes a 1/1 servo token, like one of those when it enters the battlefield, and then drop the 3-mana thing that gives all of your non-artifact spells. I want to say
Convoke
in whatever, and then basically tap all those to play Karn, and then make a 4/4 artifact creature.
Yep.
That seems really strong to me.
Right.
Not unbeatable in any format, but probably even weaker in modern, where that puts him in lightning bolt range.
Right. Well, I mean, the 4/4, making the construct is basically just for standard. Every modern, legacy, and vintage, it's all just card advantage. Watch me draw this extra card. Oh, I'm revealing these 2 things. You don't want me to have either. Okay, next turn I'm getting one back anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think he's good. I'm not sure how good he is. I haven't got a chance to play him heavily yet. In any format, but I don't know. Hopefully this weekend I'll get the opportunity to play at least a little bit of Friday Night Magic. Let's see. We only really have 2 other things on the notes here. Do you want to talk about your 4-color thing? Or do we want to talk about this? Alright, we'll talk about that. So, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about a 4-color toolbox based deck. And
no, it was literally last week.
Was it last week? I don't know.
Yeah.
My text message said I got it on 4/28. So either you went back in time and sent it to me, or the timestamp on my text messages are crap.
Because I didn't play it until Thursday.
Don't disagree with you, my friend. I'm just telling you what.
Maybe the idea came up and I just never got a chance to play it until last Thursday.
I'm just telling you what Verizon said when I looked it up to get the link. I don't think that 4/28 we had even considered playing this. So let's see here. 16 creatures, 4 Gleaming Barriers, 3 Filigree Familiars, 1 Krosan Druid. What, did I get something wrong?
No, it's just you start off a deck with, all right, here comes this 4-color bomb toolbox, 4 Gleaming Barriers.
I feel like that's an important part of the deck, though.
Oh, it's such a vital part.
It's a 0/4 for 2, right?
Yep.
And then when it dies, it makes a mana and fixes it for a turn.
Yep.
Yeah, that guy's insane. Krosan Druid, that's the guy, if you kicker him, you gain 10 life, right?
Yep.
Siege Gang Commander, one of the best Magic cards of all time. Tough.
And it's out of the deck.
Taibova? The Druid?
The blue-green thing?
Yeah, the blue-green Merfolk Druid.
Oh, yeah, she's insane.
So whenever a land enters the battlefield, draw a card, gain a life. 2 Combustible Gearhulks, which was the most iffy card in the list when we talked about it. Moldrotha?
Moldrotha?
Screw these guys. Screw these guys and their names. So that lets you play things from your graveyard.
Yes.
Gearhulk.
One of each permanent type from your graveyard.
Correct. This giant 7/7 dragon thing, I'm just gonna butcher forever. Gaz. Reincarnated.
Just call him Derry.
Sure. Whatever. Derry. Whatever Travis said. A Karn, an Angrath, a Nissa, a Vraska, 2's Gaia's Blessings, which I didn't really realize were back until Dan dropped it on me in draft on Friday. And I'm like, wait. And I picked the card up like 4 times and read it. I'm like, no, that's Gaia's Blessing. No. Like, this card's... No, you can't play this card. He's like, well, it's in the pack, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. A Sylvan Awakening, which is another card I thought was pretty sweet. Any of the cards that turn your lands into creatures, I think are very sweet. Hour Promises, which I think are good. Navigator's Compass. A Thran Temporal Gateway. Fraying Sanity, which I think is kind of unnecessary, but I guess it fills your own graveyard. And 3 Mendings. I thought we were going to put in one of the awesome spells.
Define awesome.
The return all your permanents to your legendary permanents to the battlefield.
Oh yeah, that didn't feel right when I was playing it.
Oh man, really?
So not only that, but I did change some other things in the deck.
Okay.
Just because it was I don't know, it just felt better when I changed it. So I'm down to 2 Mending of Dominaria.
Okay.
Let's see, I put in I can't remember exactly everything I took out and put in, but I changed some stuff around and it actually fits better because now I have like more life gain and ramp. So
well, like I know one of the things that we talked about was whether or not you wanted the enchantment that gains you 3 life and then a land can tap for 2.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Okay.
So the things that I've put in, I put in a Gilded Lotus, again fixing.
Sure.
I put in Azor's Gateway.
Okay.
So that's the one where you draw a card, exile a card. If you have 5 CMC differently, then gain 5, untap this, and transform it, and you do big stuff. I took out 1 Combustible Gearhulk for a second Noxious Gearhulk.
Okay.
I think I took out a Mending for a second Temporal Gateway, simply because
it looks really good.
Yeah, no, it's great in this deck. I took out the 2 Gaia's Blessings main board for 2 Ranging Raptors. And that one is the
Is that the
3
fight
drop.
one?
No, that's the Enrage. Search your library for basic land and put it into play tapped.
Okay. So basically you're just hoping to trade and then get a land?
Right. Or just like chump a bunch of things that it can't kill so I can ramp more.
Sure.
Then I put in a Jaya Ballard specifically for her second ability.
Well, we talked about her as well. Being able to discard things in your graveyard.
Right. And with like Muldrotha and the Mending of Dominaria, she is just insane value.
I still think that is it a Spongefoot? The legend that makes saplings for 4?
Yeah, Slimefoot.
Slimefoot. I still feel like he's pretty good, and Whisper is pretty good in this deck.
Well, see, the issue with Slimefoot is he requires a lot of mana,
He can, yes.
and if I'm going to be spending mana to make dudes, I want them to be bombs, not just, hey, here's another chump blocker, let's do a 2-point life exchange.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like there's probably turns that you're not gonna have. Like you're gonna draw a land when you're in the top deck mode, and there's just nothing to get. Like nothing you can really do.
I don't top deck with this deck.
Okay. Okay.
The other 2 cards that I added in, Nicobolus and the blue-green Nissa.
I like the blue-green Nissa. That was another card we talked about. I don't know, man. I really think like 4 Thran Temporal Gateways and just like insane Planeswalkers is like a place to be.
Well, so one of the game, like, the reason I jumped it up to 2 was because one of the games last week, this dude, I was at 3 life, and he attacked me with his 2 creatures, which would have brought me down to 1, and he didn't have any other cards in hand because Engrath.
Right.
And so he attacked me, and I flashed in the Noxious Gearhulk, killing his 3 toughness creature and blocking his 1/1. So it's like I gained 3 life, I'm up to 6, you have no more cards, no hand, and I have a 5/4 attacking you now.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, it all feels good.
Yeah.
I said there's a few things that I still think that I would do just a hair differently, but
do them.
Certainly not Thran Temporal Gateways. I might even go up another one. I feel like I want one every single game.
Yeah. I took out Fraying Sanities.
Oh, okay. That would be the card I would make big cuts on. I realize why they're there. They're just not a card that I like.
Right.
But I don't know. Overall, I really like the idea of the deck.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like, so the sideboard, I actually have 3 Hour of Devastation and 2 Yahenni's Expertise.
Okay. Yahenni's Expertise is, I think, a card we talked about, too.
Right, it is. I don't know, the Yahenni's is still kind of underwhelming, but I have more black spells in here than I do red, so I threw them in there just so it'd make it easier, and like I wouldn't be as reliant on the Navigator's compasses.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know. I still really like the idea of that 1 enchantment that gains you the 3 life and makes your man tap for 2 or an extra. But I don't know. I'd actually have to build it and try it. And I still think the way this deck is laid out, that this deck could probably be played as a Brawl-esque theme, although it does really want the Navigator's compasses.
Yeah.
So, other than that, I think that it could be played. My variation of this deck, I'm going to try something very similar, but I think I'm going to make it a Brawl. And I'm going to try using the energy cards to power out. So obviously I'll have 1 Thran Temporal Gateway, but I'll also have 1. Man, I cannot think of what it's called now. You spend 6 energy and you go get the top 6 cards of your library and cast 1. They banned it, but then they unbanned it for Brawl.
Yeah, I can't think of it.
Aetherworks Marvel. F you, brain.
Oh.
Like, I think I want to try Aetherworks Marvel in the deck. But we'll have to see. Did you say you did get to play with it or not get to play with it?
Yeah, I got to play with it. I ended up,
Let's see.
what was it,
I'm seeing
2-1?
2-1 and took fourth.
Yeah.
That is aggravating, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's whatever.
So Friday, we ended up having 4 rounds, and the first 2 rounds of people I played dropped after I beat them at the draft.
Of course.
And then I lost round 3 due to bad blocks on game 2. Like, I just didn't think the guy could have 11 points of damage. So I blocked in such a way where if he decided to go for a big kill, it was going to wipe his board. Like, I intentionally didn't block the pump. Sacrifice a creature. This guy gets +2/+2 creature.
Okay.
But he had the 1 mana +2/+1 spell in his hand, putting him exactly to 11 damage. So I just should have chumped him after all. And then I beat Dan in the finals, basically. So we had a 4-way tie with people at 9 points. So Dan ended up winning with opponent's win percentage at 75. And then I ended up taking like 3rd or 4th because I had the 2 opponents drop the first 2 rounds. With my opponent win percentage like 54 or something. And the guy above me had like a 56. It was just like... so aggravating. But...
why you hurt me?
Yeah, exactly. I thought we were friends. Alright, speaking of friends and Dan, there's this blue-red Artificers deck that the 2 of us, have kind of kicked around in the past. But I think Frank Carson just wrote an article on Channel Fireball earlier in the week about it. And it basically runs Aether Swoopers, Aether Chasers, Pia Nalar, Whirler Virtuoso, Maverick Thopters, and the Djinn of the Lamp that can come into play for 4 mana and tap an artifact. Takes advantage of Aventur's Gogglers and Aethersfell Harvesters and stuff like that. And again, this is kind of an idea that we've kicked around a bunch. But Dan is looking for something kind of easy to play, but still has a little bit of interesting playability to it. I'm thinking about building a copy of this deck basically for him.
Could you use blue-green monsters?
I mean, I probably could. I don't think it's going to line up with Dan's vibe very well.
What are you talking about? You get that 5/6 on turn 4. You can play Metalwork Colossus for free, and then you can play Galta.
Sure. I think... So one of the things that I'm trying to do with Dan is when he is not using his brain, is definitely getting worse. Like his migraines and his mental acuity and his ability to focus is definitely hurt significantly when he's not constantly using his brain. And I've seen this happen before with people like my grandfather and stuff like that. So I'm trying to really help Dan, both physically and mentally, rehabilitate himself a little bit. So like I loaned him my bike. He's been riding the bike every day for the last week or so. And
so your bike is finally out of the shop?
Yeah, I finally got it out of the shop.
Man, and, I always wondered what happened to the saga of your bike.
For those of you who are also interested in the saga of the bike, I walked in there. I couldn't find it. Like, I walked around all over there for, like, ever. I couldn't find it. The guy was busy with another customer. Remington comes up to me and goes, "So what happens if they sold the bike? Because I don't see it." I'm like, "I don't see it either, but I'm sure they didn't sell the bike." And kind of just as I figured, he's like, "Hey, man." Starts pulling crap off of where, like, my bike was holding other people's crap now. He's like, "So a gust of wind came through here and ripped the sheet of paper off that was your information, and just, like, I don't know if anyone saw it or what happened with it, but it was just gone." So then I did a whole bunch of, like, calling around through the company and trying to find you, and nobody no like he finally got the serial number off of the bike and like went through the company to try to figure out where, you know, who I was, and like even got all of the people who had bought that bike in Kansas basically, and was like calling them. And eventually he was just like, well, this bike doesn't exist. The company says it doesn't exist. I can't find this guy. So he was like, well, I just hope he comes in and gets his bike. And so, yeah, I just went in there and paid like $25 and got my bike back for the work that he did at the end of last summer that never got done right, I guess.
Right.
So I was just like, yeah, man, I was just waiting for a phone call. And I just wanted to check and see if it was done. He's like, oh, yeah, it's been done for like months. But I never called.
It's been done for almost a year now.
I just couldn't call you because I didn't know where you were. I'm like, well, every time I think about it, I'm busy, and then when I don't think about it anymore. So yeah, I loaned it to Dan, and Dan's been riding it around. And if he likes it, I'll sell it to him, and then I'll buy a different one. But I don't know. Dan is one of these like semi-aggro, semi-control players. And I'm kind of thinking something like this could be right up his alley. Particularly if I squeeze in like a couple of the counter spells that you can artifact tap.
Yeah.
To like just give it a little extra edge.
Well, and I remember that one of the decks that Dan used to play had Gilded Lotus in it. And when he comboed off with it, it was just insane. Like, when he got there, and you couldn't do anything about it.
Sure. But that was old pre-multiple strokes Dan.
Right.
So now, basically, if you... Again, I don't want to... Dan, if you're watching this, we still love you. But you're looking at somebody who's essentially brand new to Magic all over again every time he sits down to play. Like, not really. Like, the rules are still there and the strategies are still there. But, like, knowing the strategy of his deck is not necessarily going to be there every time.
Yeah.
Calculating the odds of what's going to come up in the draws and stuff like that's not going to be there. So if you imagine someone who's played Magic for like a year and a half, 2 years, never gone to a GP, basically just plays at Friday Night Magics, like that's kind of back to the level where Dan is at right now. So
okay.
I'm just looking for something that has a little bit of interactivity, with the exception of like the Karns that are in it. Cost basically nothing, so I can actually loan it to him and not feel like it's a problem. Because he's not high on Karn, they'll probably come out for something else, which would be great because I want to keep my damn Karns. But you know what I mean? Like I think this is something kind of close. It'd be nice if there's some way to like get energy reliably in this deck, as well as have a little bit extra removal besides just Harness Lightnings and Abrades.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I sent him the deck list, and this is the kind of replies I get back. You know, because I'm thinking of like, yeah, man, that sounds great. How many cards do we need to put it together or whatever? And he says, Riley is his name of his son, who's helped on the show a couple of times before. The sideboard needs a lot of work. It'd be good to see the main play out. So like he seems to be on board. And then he goes on a little bit later and says, "Are you going to make me the deck?" I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Probably. So I'm going to put Remington on it, I think, the next couple of days. But I'm just trying to figure out what can we take Karn out for, and do we need something else kind of at a similar power level of gotcha? Like, is a vehicle a good idea in this deck? Would it be good to slap a couple of Heart of Kirans in it? Should I just put counter spells in it?
Well, I mean, if he wants to play an aggro deck, then I feel like the Heart of Kiran or the Sky Sovereign is really good.
Doesn't the Sky Sovereign take like a bunch of people to crew? So I guess so does Heart of Kieran, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like they both... I think the Sky Sovereign is like 3 to crew.
I think so is the Heart of Kieran.
Okay.
How about Fabulous Jace?
Wilson?
I don't know. You have so many nicknames for Fabulous Jace. I'm not sure which one you're talking about.
Okay. His name is Wilson, and let me show you. Because he has the word castaway in it.
And
as we all know, Tom Hanks...
I realize.
Yeah.
Why not call him Tom then? Because he's literally the castaway.
Yeah, but the ball was more important than Tom Hanks.
Anyway,
like,
yes.
Wilson kept Tom Hanks sane in that movie.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
You felt like Wilson was the one that kept Tom sane? Wilson literally was an inanimate object.
So?
Okay. Anyway.
Okay, but like, okay, so here's the thing. If you think you can talk to something and you think it's conversing back with you, you get like emotionally attached to it. Like, you like your stupid dogs, right?
Yes, the things that love me back because they are aware and alive. Yes.
Yeah. And
I don't talk to them though, other than like you're a good boy or you're a good girl and give me cuddles, or come here.
That's talking to them.
Or get off of that. Don't hump him.
When Wilson has a face and some hair, obviously he can talk back.
Oh my god. Obviously, a face and hair is what. There's the 2 criteria for intelligent conversation.
Yeah, I mean, people talk to their stupid dogs all the time.
Okay. That's fine. In any sense, what about Fabulous Jace as
Wilson?
like a 2 of in this deck?
I think Wilson would be good in it.
Okay.
I mean, because he's making a bunch, like, is the deck making a bunch of creatures?
It does. It makes a lot of creatures.
Yeah, then put Wilson in.
And the Aether Swooper and the Aether Chasers both make 1/1 servos. And Whirler Virtuosos make the 1/1 flyers, and so does Nia. And I think the Maverick Thopterist maybe makes Thopters too, or I don't remember if it's Thopters or servos. So, I mean, yeah, it's got a bunch of things that make evasion-y type guys. And then what about Uma Thurmans? Because all these things are either 2/1s or
1/1s,
1/1s, or 1/2s, like a 2 of. Like 2
yeah, dude,
Fabulous
Uma
Jays.
Thurman would be good.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'll do it. I just got to figure out how many Spire Bluff Canals and Sulphur Falls I have at my disposal. And I'll see about making this up for Dan. Sweet.
Sounds good.
Thanks, man. All right. You can check out this and all past episodes of this podcast at samusgurrobo.com. You can send us an email. Like if you have a suggestion for people and deck lists, you can do that at the number 2 trollsbrew at gmail.com. You can check out the Twitch page, twitch.tv/samusgurrobo. You can follow us at Twitter, twitter.com/turtlepower319. Always throw you in there because everything else is named after me. And of course, you can follow me at twitter.com/samusgurrobo. And also, if you want to check the videos, youtube.com/samusgurrobo. That's important because God only knows when I'll actually get around to posting the videos to YouTube, thanks to the banning. Thanks, YouTubes. You're the best. You want to end the show with like a TV recommendation?
With a what?
A television recommendation? I've recommended a program for people to watch.
Not really.
Oh. Alright, well.
If you're going to watch TV, either find something that you laugh at or find something educational. Well, otherwise, it's garbage.
It's on Netflix. It's funny. It's a funny show.
What is it?
You said you didn't want to know what it was.
You said, do I have any
No,
recommendations?
I said, do you want to end the show that way? I have a recommendation that I wouldn't mind sharing.
Oh, I thought you were talking, hey, Travis, do you have any recommendations for other people? And my answer is no. Like, I don't know what other people want.
So,
So go ahead, tell me
so,
the recommendation.
so thanks once again to Dan. I've been spending a lot of time with him because of, trying to help him out with his injury. And we were on Netflix.
Is it really an injury?
Huh?
Is it an injury?
I would consider it, like, his brain literally tried to murder itself. I'm going to call that an injury. But he recommended, just like flipping through Netflix, The Almighty Johnsons. Have you ever heard of this on Netflix? I think they have 3 seasons. And basically, it's a Canadian show set in Canada. And this family of 4, there's like this weird lore kind of situation. But basically, on their 21st birthdays, they go out into the woods and they become essentially possessed by a Norse god. So I don't really know the names of all of them so far, but like there's the god of the hunt, and Chance is like the surrogate father of the family. There's a guy named Olaf. He's like the god of rebirth. Apparently he's their grandpa, but he looks like he's like 22 or something.
That's how a rebirth works.
Yeah, basically, yeah. He gets younger. He doesn't age, basically, or ages super slow.
Right.
There's a god of like smooth talking, basically. So he like talks people into like all sorts of shenanigans.
Oh, he is. Yeah, because that one's also like the basically the gatekeeper of the River of Styx.
Something. Again, Norris.
Yeah.
Norris.
Right,
And,
but like that's their version.
Right, and then you have like the god of the cold, I think. So, but like all of their powers are slightly muted, so they're not like as strong as you would consider a regular deities. So then the point of the television show is the youngest brother goes out to the woods, gets the thing, and they're expecting like some minor deity. And it turns out he's Odin. And when Odin is born, or reborn, or whatever, Odin has to go find his perfect mate, which is another female goddess. And he has to go consummate their relationship. And then once they do, then all the gods will become full-powered gods. And if he doesn't, and he dies first, then all of the other gods die. So, but it's very funny because this kid is like a 21-year-old virgin. So like he has no idea how to really talk to women or do anything. And of course some members of his family are like don't want to die when he dies, and shenanigans. I don't know, I find it to be very funny so far. Does it sound like something you might try?
Yeah, I mean, I got into the Vikings show, so why not make a comedy out of it?
That's kind of similarly-ish, I think.
Except Canadian instead of Norway.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess you have to, if your actors are all Canadian because you're filming in Canada, you have to mix it up a little bit to get it to fit, right?
Right.
I don't know. So far, it's been a lot of fun. I'm only a couple episodes in, and I'm already really liking the main character, Axel. He's Odin, and he's a real screw up, and I love that. So that's all I got. That's all I have for this week. What do you have? Anything else? Do you have a final thought?
No, I think we discussed it all.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll try to catch you next week. Troll
Okay,
on.
bye.
You're supposed to say troll on. That's your catchphrase.
Oh, right. Okay, bye.